This was 4 hours ago? How did I miss this? I was checking, like, stuff. Apparently it's Square Enix. They found one of the Mare developers as they posted info on GitHub that had their legal name according to screenshots in the Discord. Hypothetically, like, depending on what country the person was based in, like, Square would be able to find that information either way. Like, good riddance to anyone who unsubs over losing it. I mean, losing more players right now won't be a good thing. Like, I've said it would be, like, probably painful but necessary, but, man, that's wild. I wonder if someone will make a Russian Mare Lamentor. I feel like it's only a matter of time before someone just makes another one in a protected country somewhere. Like, it's too popular for that to not happen. Impartial, but I think it's bad timing for the game. It's definitely bad timing, yeah. I've said for a long time that that's one of those things that something would need to be done about it eventually, just because like people using that are almost playing a different game, and that sets a very bad image for the game publicly. Because like if you see modded screenshots where everybody's got their synced mods and whatnot, or videos and whatnot, it doesn't even look like the same game, and so that sets the implication that this is something you can do in FF14, which misrepresents what the game actually is, and like that's not a good position to be in for Square Enix. Dawn Trail's now the best expansion ever. Look, Shadowbringers peaked before Mare Lamentorum, okay? Like, Endwalker before, so the game was fine and healthy without it in the past. The RP scene, the club scene, all that stuff existed beforehand. Like, it won't go away, but there will be a very bad hangover. You know, there's gonna be withdrawals, I'm sure, if it doesn't get replaced quickly. People are starting to go after the people that did the Summer Bash thing. Nah. See, here's the thing. It's not like Square Enix didn't know that this was going on. Like, anybody that thinks Square doesn't know about the mods, like, they were so open about it. It was in everybody's adventurer plates. Like, Square knew all along that this was going on. Like, it's not like it was ever a secret to them. If anything, like, Square challenging it legally, assuming that it is Square, it might be because of the timing of, like, the political stuff, you know, like the credit card censorship and whatnot. Like, I talked about this, like, last week. I was saying, like, if mods get shut down in FF14, one of the avenues, like, one of the most likely scenarios for that happening would be based off of, like, recent legal changes and like the credit card thing where they're going after like random porn games. There's a lot of mods that turn FF14 into a porn game, and so for Square Enix, like what they would want to do is prevent that from getting them in trouble. I literally was like speculating on this like a week ago. You know, we don't know much about it right now. There's not any information out there as far as I can tell from what you guys are telling me, but like I would say that that's the most likely logic behind the decision. As long as they don't officially support it, they should have an easy time washing their hands of it. Yeah, but if they don't do anything to stop it, then they're complicit in it. So it's like trying to think of a good example that doesn't go into a really dark place. But like basically, if you're posting extremely illegal material on, say, Twitter, it's not Twitter's fault that you're posting that, but Twitter has a responsibility for removing it. Because if they don't do anything about it, they are complicit. And so Square Enix falls in that same thing. Like, if they don't do anything about it, they're essentially allowing it to happen. They're facilitating it in a way. So yeah, that would be my tinfoil hat theory would be exactly what I said like 2 weeks ago, which is it's probably linked to the broader legal climate and the weird pressuring of companies to get rid of explicit material. I would absolutely believe that would be related. Because the timing otherwise, like, again, Mare Lamentorum has been around for 3 years. Why would they only just now get rid of it? You know, it's not like they didn't know about it. The timing is too convenient. They probably want to avoid a potential firestorm just because the mod owner accidentally linked IRL info to his GitHub account. Okay, but what about the guy that made Player Scope? I don't think he was putting IRL, like, I don't think he had his info out there. They still shut him down. Like, they could have shut it down if they wanted to. Someone will have a fork running. I don't know. It just turns into whack-a-mole at that point, because like then you're gonna have people installing different versions of it, and like it'll be an arms race. But like a lot of people just aren't gonna want to deal with that. I imagine someone will make a new one, like someone will replace it probably. What even is that mod? So Mare Lamentorum is a mod that allowed people to sync visual mods with each other. So like you could take someone's code and it would sync their mods with yours, so that you could see what their player looked like on their screen. Prior to that, people had to have all the same mods installed by default before they could, like, you couldn't see what other people's mods were, but, like, Mare just enabled people to sync them together. Vanilla players are unaware it exists unless someone tells them about it. Well, the thing is, like I said, it's on everybody's adventurer plate, so, like, it's very blatant and out in the open. Mostly harmless since you have to have the mod to see the mod. That is true. Visual mods in general are primarily harmless, but yeah, very interesting. There's a second tinfoil hat that I could put on, which is the same reason they shut down Player Scope was not because of stalking. I don't think they care. Like, they obviously want to prevent stalking to some capacity, but stalking in a video game, like, oh no, someone's character's following me around. The real reason to shut down Player Scope is because it has the potential to reveal the actual player numbers. Mare Lamentorum does a similar thing where you could see how many people are using it. They seem to really not like that getting out. People were already starting to grumble about the ripping of paid mods from other games. I've seen that, yeah. How tall are you? Oh, very, very tall. Probably. It'd also be about them having talks with Nintendo regards putting it on Switch 2. It seems very interestingly timed. Well, the mods don't really work on consoles, so far as I'm aware. Like, modding on console is way harder to do, is my understanding. So, like, all the stuff that PC players are doing is not on console. But you do have to say, though, like, if Nintendo doesn't know about the technical details of it, which why would they know technical details of modding FF14? If they look up FF14 and see all this weird, like, you know, modded club scene stuff, they might say, yeah, what the heck is this? Like, so, you know, that could be related. I don't know. That's the thing. Unless they come out and say, like, what was in the legal challenge that they got, we'll never really know for sure. Like, we'll only be able to speculate. But, man, though, if no one makes an equivalent to Mare in the next, like, 2 months, I was saying 7.3 is going to be, like, the deepest low we see for the community, like, players, concurrent players in all of Dawn Trail. But, man, it might get way worse than I thought. Because, like, I didn't think that this would happen. To the forums, what's going on in the forum? Congratulations on shutting down Crystal DC. Square Enix finally took legal action against third-party plugin, but Mare goes down. Yeah, dude, the Doomers are winning. Gonna hit hard for sure. It's not a great timing on Square Enix's part. Well, hey, maybe the reason they started adding so much modern crap to the glams is so that in anticipation of this, like, hey guys, look, we got normal clothes now. You don't need to mod them anymore. Way to see your friends' mods if you know them. Well, like, before Mare, people would just install the same mods. That's what you had to do. If they go for Dalamud, it would be a disaster. Dalamud is kind of like the head of the snake, but, well, it's more like the head of the Hydra, right? You know, you get rid of that, and then, like, somebody else just makes a new one. But the thing, though, like, going after these high-profile mods, like, what it does is it sets a precedent. It says, like, if you do this, we will come after you. And so, like, some people will try and fork it, but they're going to be in for the same thing. Like, they're going to get hit by the lawyers, presumably, because, like, if they're going after one, it makes an example. It's like, if you do this, you will be legally challenged. Do you think it has anything to do with Nintendo? I honestly, like, I think there's plenty of other reasons to do it. Like, I don't think the Nintendo thing would be the main reason. It might be a consideration, it might be a factor, but I don't think. Like, this is probably something they've been deciding for a while. The number of ERP venues, which are going to plummet in popularity, means there are a lot of headstrong, self-important owners with some tea to spill in the ensuing flame wars. I mean, the venue owners already engage in high school drama on a daily basis. I don't think this is going to fuel that. There might be a little bit more just because people are more bored than they were before, but like it's already like that. So after all this time, why not sooner in the last 3 years? Anybody's guess. Do you think it'll be a lot of canceled subs? I think there will be a significant number, but it's just a question of like how many, you know, like what percentage, because a lot of people won't quit. Necessarily. There's a lot of people that do, like, you know, the nightclubs, the ERP and whatnot, and the mods are a big augmentation to that, but this just makes it less convenient. It doesn't mean that those people are going to stop. So, like, some people probably would quit, but I don't think they all will. Mare doesn't require you to sub. Yeah, but you can't send, like, DMs if you're not subscribed to the game. Like, there's a limit to the social functionality, so I imagine most people using it probably were subscribed, other than those just acting on, like, a sus alt or whatever, but some will quit, some will get closer to quitting. Yeah, that's probably like the biggest factor is just it's another straw for people. Like it's another reason for people to quit if they're like hooked on using it. Bad timing for it after the financial report. It's better doing it now than before the financial report because now they got another quarter before they got to look at numbers again. So they were probably gonna have to tear the Band-Aid off at some point because again, like I don't have any unique hatred toward visual mods. It's whatever. I think they're mostly harmless, but I also do think that they are a large potential liability for the game. Because most people, like, you know, putting a bigger butt on a cat girl is like, okay, you do you, right? Like, that's not really that harmful. But then there are people that do, like, pretty ridiculous things with the mods, and again, that then becomes a representation of the game, which can potentially reflect poorly on Square Enix. And so, like, it was always going to be a liability. And the thing is, mods will still be a liability. This just is a blow to them. It's kind of like a shot across the bow. Oh, let's see. Square Enix finally took legal actions against third-party plugin, but This should be fun. The reasoning behind it is insane. Well, what's the reasoning? Good job, Square. You finally did something after 3+ years, but after screenshots of Discord chats from the plugin dev saying the C&D taking it down because it loses them revenue from the item shop. That's genuinely like, you know what? I didn't even think about that, but yeah, people could use plugins to just wear the cash shop glams without buying them because the item code is in the game, so I didn't even think about that. That is the simplest reason. That's probably what it is. It's so simple and stupid, like that's probably it. I didn't even think about that. And yeah, I remember when someone data mined friggin' glams from a summer event and then put it on a billboard before it was announced. Like, it incentivizes more people to do that, yeah. Yeah, Mare syncs your visual mods with other players' visual mods, so you can see what they see on their screen. Basically, that's what it's a syncing of mods. Like, it's a facilitator to sync people's mods so that you all see the same thing. And so it's kind of like a middleman, but it makes modding more popular. Because again, ever since it basically got added, all of a sudden people are, alluding to it in all of their adventure plates on Crystal. I check adventure plates all the time playing the game as a Crystal gamer, and like, I would say 50% of them, standing around cities, at least 50% of them mention that they're using Mare Lamentor. Probably even more than that. And not even just standing around, like, it's probably 50% on average, like, overall, and I would say a majority share of people that are, hanging out in cities. You can still make a mod pack from another plugin and send that to someone. Yeah, there's still gonna be ways around it, but that's gonna be too inconvenient for a lot of people. Like, that's more work than typing in a code, and so that will shake off a lot of users. There's a non-zero chance you could spread malicious files through a Mare sync shell. Yeah, I don't know what the safety protocols are on Mare. I just know that it downloads other people's mods. So, like, I don't know how they vet that, but yeah, there is a non-zero chance of that. Absolutely. Let me read the rest of this. Makes me speechless. I'm not sure if it's true, but if that's the case, something is IMO going horribly wrong. I wouldn't doubt that I wonder if it's Square throwing things at a dartboard, because, like, the last couple additions to the cash shop have been kind of crap. They did that like, ugly Korean set, the belt set. They've been adding so much stuff to the cash shop lately, but a lot of it has been misses more so than hits. Whereas, stuff like the Azima outfit was really good. A lot of people bought that. I see it all the time. But I don't see the belted leather set at all. And so they might be looking at those numbers and saying, why aren't people buying more out of the cash shop? They might be looking at that. Hey, Yoshi P, how can we get more people to engage with the cash shop? Why are the numbers down? Well, A, the numbers are going to be down because the subs are down. But B, they've also been adding stuff to the cash shop that's just not good. And so they might be looking at that and saying, from a business boardroom standpoint, like, why are people not buying the stuff when they were buying it last year? Maybe it's because of the mods. It would be really funny, but, like, I could see that being the case, because Square's always a few years behind, and they're, like, usually, like, just off the mark. Like, they never quite get the bullseye. Mare has 0 checks and balances in place. You have a file uploaded as mod to share with Mare, and anyone who syncs with you downloads that file peer-to-peer directly. There's no middleman, no managed firewall, nothing. If that's true, that would be shocking, but I could believe it. But see, if it was possible to send malware through Mare, I feel like we would hear about that more often. Not to say that it doesn't happen, but, like, I feel like we would hear about it. Because remember when, remember G-Shade? Or was it Reshade? It was either Reshade or G-Shade, but the dev went rogue and turned it into malware, basically, and it was, like, a whole massive thing. Like, I feel like people were a little bit cynical about mods after that. But, yeah, I don't know. There are more plugins that hurt the game even more, less the revenue, but the overall player experience. Gather bots, market board bots, rotation bots, etc. Can Square Enix do something against those as well? Can they? Yes. Will they? Just the good time to hurt Square Enix by quitting. Time to spend money somewhere else. Lol. Yeah, man, I don't know. The mod users are the ones keeping the game alive during downtime. Yes and no. See, it's hard to say because we don't know what percentage mod users are out of the total player base, because on PC it's very high, but this game has a lot of console players, so it's like we don't really know what the overall percentage is. And the thing is, a lot of even the social gamers that log in to go to RP clubs and mod beast themselves with a million tats and, like, giant buns or whatever, it still becomes more boring for them when the raiders stop playing. Because there's a lot of people that raid and also go to nightclubs. There's a lot of people that like the MSQ and also go to nightclubs. And, like, So the more people that you have not logging in for other reasons, the more modders you're also going to shake off. Like they don't just log in and stand in the ERP club. They still want there to be other people there. You know, they want other people to interact with, because otherwise they would just go play Second Life. It's the fact that FF14 has a steady stream of interesting people logging into it. That's why people mod on this game instead of any other game. And so, like, if the player count goes down from, you know, raids being bad or dungeons being bad or what have you, the modders will also leave in that instance. And so, like, I don't think that they're, like, the lifeblood of the game or anything. And again, the game has lived without this, so we already know that it doesn't need it to exist. There was a time before this. FF Logs isn't a mod. The logs aren't a mod, but they are facilitated by a mod. They need data scrapers in order to function, and so you could hypothetically have logs without ACT, but realistically speaking, you won't. There are a non-zero chance that something Square Enix might be worried about, the EU thing. I genuinely think that could be related. That's what I was saying at the beginning, was that it could be like a mitigating effort by Square to kind of get ahead of the thing, because mods make the game look really bad. And so if there's any like puritanical laws going after like wacky sex games like Final Fantasy XIV, if you don't know better, could look like one of those games. And it's not like you need an ID to download mods. You know, like there's not really a good system of verification and checks on who's downloading what mods. But yeah, it's just a potential backdoor for questionable things, and so I wouldn't be surprised if that's related. Can't wait for the 5 different forks of Mare. It was the problem, like, the reason that Mare Lamentorum worked was because there was one of them. And so everybody could sync through the same program, whereas if you have more than one, then it's like, okay, well, I've got this one, you've got that one, therefore we can't sync. Like, it will be interesting to see what happens. I think it'll probably get replaced. I feel like it's only a matter of time, but then it's just the question of, does Square then go after that one? Like, they could just whack-a-mole the replacements, and until it gets to a point that it's just not worth the effort anymore for the modders to try and do it, you know? We'll have to wait and see. It depends on how serious they are about this. Awful time to nuke it though, Dawn Trail struggling. Well, there is a free login campaign. If they have to whack-a-mole, they'll just take down the launcher. Well, see, if they wanted to get rid of everything, taking down the launcher would have been the first step. That's the nuclear option. Let's see though. Congratulations on shutting down Crystal Data Center. I guess removing a server full of subs is your best move you've done this expansion. At least release some content now, or you just planned on another 3 to 4 months of literally nothing again. So this person's obviously upset. The thing is, like, it's not a secret that mods are against the terms of service. So it's like anybody that's modding that hasn't accepted that it can all go away at a moment's notice, like, it's kind of silly. If you're going to use mods on the game, you have to acknowledge that it's against the rules and they could get rid of it at any time if they really want to. People forget the first rule of Fight Club? No. Again, if you think that Square Enix wasn't aware of all the mods all along, that's silly. Because if you just play the game, you find out about that stuff really quickly. If you interact with the game in social media at all, you find out about that stuff really quickly. Like, it's not a secret. Everybody knew it was going on, and there's no way that Square didn't know the whole time. That's what's interesting about it, is like speculating on why they decided to do something about it now. Because I've been saying for a long time, it's like, it's always going to be a liability. Like, it's something they do need to address, but it makes me wonder, like, why they're going after it now. Because of Mog Station? That's what I've seen. I didn't look at the actual C&D, I guess, but it would make sense, though, because of Mog Station. Because, again, I have to imagine, like, with the, they just had that earnings report come out, right? Like, you know, profits are down. I imagine that includes Mog Station. And they're probably looking at it and wondering, like, why is nobody buying this stuff? And so this becomes the scapegoat. Whereas, honestly, the people that are modding in outfits from the Mog Station were probably never going to buy those in the first place. But, again, from the boardroom perspective, you look at it and you're like, okay, losing money on the cash shop, why is that happening? And they're just going to throw darts at the board, try to figure out, like, what they think is causing it. This might even just be an appeasement from, say, Yoshi P, who knows full well that, you know, player count down, obviously cash shop down. Like, you know, of course, the returns on the cash shop are going to follow the subscription numbers. You know, he has to do something, right? If the investors are asking, why is the game not making as much money as it was last year? What can you do to improve the situation? Like, he's got to make it look like he's doing something. So, like, could even just be appeasement. I don't know. They might buy one or two they really like if they're willing to get the mods. Oh, they might, yeah. Like, let me put it like this. Like, people modding outfits definitely has an impact on the sales of the cash shop. I just don't think that it's, like, that big of an impact. That's all. I'm just kind of speaking broadly. They need to make the prices not outrageous. Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I've said many times, I would be willing to buy more things out of the cash shop if the prices were better, but $20 for a virtual outfit for a single character is just highway robbery. This is what you get for clogging up Bismarck, and no, there will be no content. Well, I don't think this has anything to do with Bismarck. Because the thing is, like, the Bismarck gathering would happen with or without mods. The mods were very prevalent there because they're very prevalent in the social scene. But the social scene, you know, hanging out on a mutual worldwide server is something that could happen with or without mods. The people that are pointing to the Bismarck party, I think they've got the wrong guy. You know, your princess is in another castle. Who knew patch 7.3 can be even more dead than it is? This is kind of funny, like, logically, because there's another side to this, which is people that log in and just go to Balmung or just go to an ERP club, like, they're not really queuing roulettes anyway, so this probably will lead to less people being online at a time, but for people actually, like, playing the game, it won't feel much different. Like, it'll only feel different in those social spaces, but most of those are kind of tucked away anyways, so it's not going to make the roulette queues longer, you know? Imagine walking into Limsa and seeing 3 people. You'll see more than 3 people. The thing is, like, Limsa is the idling spot for everyone. So you might have mod users log out, but you'll still have people standing around. Like, you're never going to get Limsa down to old Charlian levels of population. Like, that's just not going to happen because it's just the hub, you know? I still have the I'm bored, go to Limsa crowd. No, see, the thing is, like, there's a percentage of mod beasts that will just log out, but a lot of them will stay online. We've seen, you know, when the plugins go down at the beginning of a patch cycle, a lot of people still stand around and idle in their sexy glams and whatnot. They just don't have all the mods. So yeah, it will probably cull a percentage of modders, but I think a majority of them will still play. Here's the other thread. Mare goes down. This is a bright day for many of us and a difficult one for some. I'll be real. I don't like mods. I've said many times, I wish that the whole game was vanilla. I'm not a fan of mods. I wouldn't cry to see the mods go. But I also don't feel like this is, like, brightening my day at all, you know? Like, this isn't impacting me at all. I'm not happy about it. And I'm just like, well, okay, I guess it's gone now. Because, like, for the people that do like mods at Mare, like, you know, I'm not celebrating in their misery. I have no stake in that. Like, no more whispers whether we use Mare or not. No more exclusions for those who didn't, and much more than that. Yeah, see, for this demographic, I could see where they would be happy about it. Like, social/RP gamers that don't use the mods and are annoyed about, like, everybody expecting it. So I guess this makes sense. But Balmung was uncongested for several days. The mods were down. There were still people there, though, is my point. Like I said, it'll cull a percentage. The thing is, Balmung is the gathering spot for ERP on the entirety of the NA region. So what you're seeing is a small percentage, or we don't know if it's a small percentage, but what you're seeing is a percentage that's extrapolated across every data center because Balmung is where they all gather. And so it could have been 10% of all, you know, mod users, but because 10% of them from every data center are now logging out, that, you know, creates the open space on Balmung. Like I said, it will have an effect for sure, but I don't think it will kill the social scene because it existed before this. It'll just be a little bit smaller again. It truly will make a huge difference that this happened and will change this forever. It might or might not. It depends on if Square follows up, because someone will make an alternate version, and then it depends on if Square is willing to continue fighting this battle. Yeah, see, like, killing the launcher would actually cause a major drop-off. Like, the visual mods, I don't think kills the game. Like, it cuts a percentage off for sure, but, like, I think it would still be fine. If they go for the launcher, like, that would be really bad. Don't think they could realistically attack something that's purely client-side. I think they could. They absolutely could if they wanted to. Bold move by Square Enix to remove player-ran content when the game has a serious issue with content longevity. Now, calling Mare Lamentorum player-ran content, like, that's a little disingenuous. A player-run content is like, I'm hosting a foot race in Western Lenosia. Like, it's not giving bunny boys giant titties. Like, that's a little different. Like, that's a bit of a misrepresentation. Or they won't live to regret the decision when subscription numbers continue to sink even further. Hopefully, they hit Dalibud next to hit the last nail in the coffin. Don't see the downside to this particular plugin going down. It's a major downside to the people that enjoy it, and there are hundreds of thousands of people that enjoy it. And so that's the downside is a lot of people are gonna be upset with it. And so, yeah, for people like me, like non-mod users, like, I don't care. Like, this doesn't really affect me, but it's easy to understand why people are upset about it. Even if I don't agree, like, I get it. People want to be horny, go play Second Life. Yeah, see, the problem with Second Life is, it's like, why don't they just go play VR chat instead, right? You know, why don't you play Second Life? Why don't you play IMVU? It's because they want to have a game attached to the Goon Sesh. You know, it's like you want a game to be attached to it. And so it's like there's an investment in FF14 because of the story and the lore and the world, whereas Second Life doesn't quite have that same level of depth. It can if people make it themselves, but like, I don't think it'll expand to Dalaman as a whole. I think it'll be limited to just Mare. That's what it seems like right now, but it's not clear. Like, we won't know until we know. But yeah, going after something that potentially hurts the cash shop income seems like pretty logical. If Dalamud isn't doing that on its own, then yeah, I think Yoshi P knows better than to take that down abruptly at a time like this. I don't think he's unwilling to do it necessarily, but I think he would have to be pushed to do it very hard. Like, there would have to be a really compelling reason to. Maybe legal doing this, not him. That's also, yeah, it's likely that it wasn't necessarily his specific call, but like, he would certainly be in the loop on it. They'd have to nuke Glamour / Penumbra. They might. If the concern is cash shop revenue, which again, like the cash shop apparently is not in Yoshi P's purview. Like that's run by another division. Like somebody else runs that. Wouldn't it be the plugin? Well, see, the thing is, like, what's the point of wearing a cash shop outfit client side modded if no one else can see it? The syncing of mods incentivizes people to do it more. And so I could see why they would attack that if that was their motivation. But we don't, again, can't really speculate entirely on their motivation. I don't think it was clearly stated. But I still think, though, like, the best reason to do it, if you're going to go after sync shells and Mare Lamentorum and whatnot, the best reason to do it is just because it grossly misrepresents what the game actually is. Looks bad for a company to be promoting and advertising when the game could be seen as an ERP game. Yeah, exactly. Like that's a large part of like why I think they would be doing it, because especially since the game has been creating a reputation around that, because so many people do it and they're very open about it. And you look up FF14, you look up G-Pose on Twitter, and a majority of what you're gonna see is not stuff that's in the vanilla game. There's entire communities around it, and so people associate that with FF14. That's a bad look for the game. All the ports and ripped assets from other companies as well, that would definitely not help. Yeah, that once the C&D gets leaked, we'll likely never know. Well, see, a C&D usually just says, hey, stop doing this. It doesn't even necessarily have to cite the reason. C&D is basically, if you continue doing this, we will take legal action against you. All the venues will lose their housing so normal players can get houses. Nah, again, the venues have been around longer than Mare Lamentorum. Like, the venues were already there. The good ones will continue to exist. What will happen to the servers if they remove half the subs? Well, like half the people would quit if you think. It would be a very significant percentage. I'd say at least, like, just spitballing a number, like probably 20%. A lot of people would persevere. They would just play through it. Again, this game is very popular on console. Like, there's no denial that without Mare, good chunk, if not a big chunk of the player base will quit the game. I always said if they do that, many players will quit, but I don't think I would see the day where it becomes a reality. And here I stand, witnessing what might be termed as the 8th umbral calamity for the player base. Nah. The player base peaked before Mare Lamentorum. The height of this game was before this mod. This is something that there's definitely an amount of people that only use the game because they can do this, but this will not kill the game. Like, doesn't kill the community, doesn't kill the game. The game's been around since before then. Like, lots of over-exaggeration on both sides. Yeah, quick recap of what this combo is about. Apparently Square Enix ceased and desisted the developer for Mare Lamentorum, which is a mod syncing program that people use to share their visual mods. And so it's the worst day ever for ERPers. People are forgetting the sub numbers only went up because of the perfect storm. That's not the point, though. The point is the sub numbers went up without mods like this existing. Like, this is not the thing that is making the game succeed. The game can be fine without this. No Mare means no reason to play this game anymore. The gameplay is trash. Square Enix never fixed the networking issues in EU because they don't care about us anyway, so I was around only for the roleplay, so I will say it. Screw Square Enix, screw Yoshi P, I'm out. Wait for Ion 2 next year and dedicate my free time on avoiding every single Square Enix product and making sure. This is the type of player that was inevitably going to be lost anyway. If you were only playing the game so that you could use visual mods, then you were getting nothing else out of Final Fantasy. Like, you're essentially playing a different game if this was your disposition. And so, like, this player was always going to be lost. Like, probably because the cash shop didn't make any sense / revenue for those who can turn their characters into some kind of Skyrim with 5,000 mods. Legit 14 players like me and many others feel like third citizens, with 80% of the community asking for Mare, bro, and your Mare, bro, give your code. I'm sad for the Second Life players who came to FF14 anyways, but bro, Square Enix is going to lose subs and players. Oh, I'm sure we're going to miss ERPers 24/7 in Ul'dah. Well, Square will miss the money, but yeah, this is kind of what I was saying earlier. Like, I don't think this is going to affect the queue times on roulettes because a lot of those people were not playing regular content anyway. They're spending most of their time just standing around, but it will be bad for the community in the short term. It will hurt in the short term. I think people are blowing it out of proportion and will sub again in a month's time. Well, maybe. They might not. Square updates the character creator, things will get better. They have said they're planning to update the character creator, I believe, so, like, there's at least that. It's not going to be updated to the point, like, I've seen what some of these mod beasts look like, okay? Like, they're never going to add those options, but yeah, you know, they've been improving the character models, they've been adding all kinds of fashion and whatnot. Like, there's been a lot of actual appeasement toward the mod chads in the vanilla game. What I find so fascinating is a lot of the mods, like, because again, I've seen what these things look like, right? You know, a lot of them are actually, like, kind of subtle. But what I always find so amusing is, like, of all the MMORPGs on the market, this one has some of the best looking characters by default. And so it's almost we've done this experiment before, try to make a bad looking character in FF14. It's actually hard to do. It's like people take these character models are already like a 10 out of 10. They're like, nah, that's not good enough. It's crazy to me, like, how people feel the need to mod what is already a very good looking game just in terms of like the character attractiveness. And that's why most often, you know, when you see like the hashtag mod beasts, it's like really extreme stuff, because people that aren't into that super like the really big extremes are more likely to be content, I think, with the base game, which already looks pretty good. All right, let's just do a last sweep to see if there's anything interesting. Yeah, it seems like it's just the 3 threads. Reddit's got a thread, but it's the expected mix of distraught to okay, whatever. Yeah, that seems to be the general. Like, people that don't use it are like, well. And then people that do use it are like, game over. I'll be curious to see the fallout. We got to see how it pans out over the next couple of weeks, though, I would say. Like, how quickly does someone try to replace it? Someone's going to make a copy within a week. Yeah, but the trouble is you can't really get mass adoption of a copy as quickly. Like, again, Mare Lamentorum was up for 3 years, so everybody that was using mods essentially had it. Like, it was, they kind of had saturation, market saturation. Whereas if someone makes a questionable new one and is like, hey, here's the new one, like, they'll get a few people on it, but don't know if they'll have the capacity to build another Babylon. You know, are they going to be able to build one that everybody jumps on? Like, because if the tribes all spread to the 4 winds, it won't really work the same way. And then it's also just that question of, does Square Enix follow up and shut down anybody that tries to replicate Mare? As I say, we gotta wait and see what the fallout is gonna be. Likely an extension of the C&D placed on the Stalker plugin, since there are no checks on how Mare handled P2P sharing. Oh wait, that one scrolled by, I wanted to read that. I don't think anyone has executed malicious code like this as far as I know, but it's definitely possible. Yeah. I think this will be the one thing they do. It depends on why they did it. You know, it could just be that Mare got too big and they noticed it, you know. It was big enough that they couldn't ignore it anymore, so yeah, like, but it depends on why they did it. The only reason they were able to get C&D was because they had their name actually. Like, again, when it comes to legal challenges, like, if they're hosting this stuff on reputable sites to get like the downloads and the whatnots, Square would have been able to get that information either way. They would be able to request it from the website. Because I don't think the player scope dude had his name attached to anything. Like, they found him, you know, like, they would be able to find you. Having his name attached to it just made it easier to do, you know. It doesn't prevent it from happening if you are anonymous. But yeah, there's not a whole lot more to say on that. Like I said, we got to see how it pans out. But very interesting. I didn't expect that. Very interesting. I shall continue to see how the story develops.